Today, we are going deep on a hidden enemy that could be the real reason behind your fatigue, that brain fog, and stubborn weight gain. We're going to explore the pretty surprising connection between your hormones and, well, your entire health. So, does any of this sound familiar to you? That persistent fatigue that, no amount of coffee seems to touch? What about brain fog that just makes clear thinking feel impossible? Or maybe it's that frustrating weight gain that just refuses to go away, no matter what you try. You are definitely not alone in feeling this way. But here's the thing. We're often told these are all separate problems with separate solutions. But what if that's all wrong? What if they all point back to one single unseen enemy that's just wreaking havoc inside our bodies? So let's dig in. Today, we're going to explore a completely different way to look at our health, and we'll be guided by the incredible work of doctors like Neil Rouzier and researchers like Ben Bikman. These are people who are really challenging the old school ideas about how we treat chronic disease. So the number one suspect in this whole health mystery is something called insulin resistance. Now, hold on. This isn't just about your blood sugar. A better way to think about it is that your cells have kind of put their hands over their ears. They've just stopped listening to a critical message from the hormone insulin. And that breakdown is where all the problems begin. And this is where it gets really mind-blowing. Professor Bikman's research shows that when your insulin levels are high, your body is getting one single powerful command: store energy as fat. And here's the kicker. This happens even if you're eating the exact same number of calories as someone who's not storing fat. It proves it's a hormone problem, not just a simple calories in, calories out problem. You can almost picture your pancreas's accelerator being just stuck to the floor, constantly flooding your system with insulin. And as Dr. Rouzier explains, this forces glucose into your cells, turning it into fat. This process of just cramming more and more energy into already full fat cells is what really lights the fire of inflammation and disease. So here's the crucial point. This hidden enemy, high insulin, it doesn't work alone. Oh no. It's actually the first domino to fall in a chain reaction that acts like a wrecking ball to your entire hormonal system. And this, right here, this is the vicious cycle in action. See, high insulin tells your body to store that dangerous deep belly fat, the visceral fat. That fat then acts like its own little hormone factory, pumping out an enzyme that literally steals your testosterone and turns it into estrogen. And this hormonal mess, it makes you even more insulin resistant, and around we go. Okay, so if hormonal chaos is a huge part of the problem, what's the solution? Well, this leads us to a new and for a lot of people, a pretty controversial idea. What if we fix the hormonal imbalance directly? I know what you're thinking. For decades, the headlines have been absolutely terrifying. There was a massive study, the Women's Health Initiative, that linked hormone therapy to all sorts of scary risks. And it created this deep-seated fear that honestly is still around today. But Dr. Rouzier argues, and the science backs him up, that the medical world has been comparing apples to oranges. See, those old studies used synthetic hormones, things like Premarin, which is literally made from horse urine, and other artificial chemicals. Those are worlds away from bioidentical hormones, which are molecularly identical to what your own body produces. They're not the same thing, not even close. In fact, get this, when you actually look at the data for the right kind of hormone, the results are stunning. Large, long-term studies from Europe show that using bioidentical estradiol is linked with up to a 54% reduction in death from cardiovascular disease. We're talking heart attacks and strokes, the #1 killer of women. A 54% reduction? Now, this idea of using the right hormone isn't just for women's health. The same kind of thinking is desperately needed for men, especially with prostate cancer. The standard treatment is called androgen deprivation therapy, or ADT. And its whole goal is to starve the cancer by completely wiping out a man's testosterone. Dr. Rouzier just lays it out so bluntly here. Study after study shows that this therapy, ADT, dramatically increases the risk of dying from a heart attack or stroke. His point is just so powerful and stark. What good is treating cancer if the treatment itself is actually more likely to kill you? So what's the alternative? And honestly, you might want to sit down for this one. The evidence points to estradiol. Yes, a form of estrogen, the very hormone we all associate with women, is a powerful tool against prostate cancer.
And here's why. Estradiol actually fights the cancer directly. First, it tells the cancer cells to self-destruct, and second, it basically chokes the tumor by cutting off its ability to build new blood vessels to feed itself. And it does all this while protecting a man's heart and metabolic health, the exact opposite of the conventional therapy.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together. After everything we've looked at, what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway from this whole framework? Just look at this chart. This is a real-world example from a breast cancer survivor's menopause rating scale. Before treatment, you can see her symptoms were absolutely debilitating, in the extremely severe category. But after her underlying hormonal issues were addressed, look at that shift. Everything drops down to mild or even none. That is the difference between just managing a disease and truly restoring a person's quality of life. So here's what it all boils down to. Our bodies aren't just a collection of separate parts. They're this deeply interconnected system. The symptoms we feel, the fatigue, the brain fog, that's just the smoke. The real fire is poor metabolic health, which then creates the hormonal chaos that drives all these diseases. Real health isn't about just fanning away the smoke. It's about putting out the fire. And that really leaves us with one final and I think pretty provocative question to ask yourself. Is your health just being managed, symptom by symptom, pill by pill, or is it being truly optimized? You know, if any of this has got you thinking, if it sparked your curiosity and you want to dive even deeper into the real science of hormones, metabolic health, and well-being, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching.